Hello, welcome back to Jolah Talks Politics. I'm about to upload this video. Make sure you drop a like, a comment, and subscribe. Thank you for joining me. I go live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I take calls from every person ever, Trump supporters, progressives, liberals, conservatives, whoever. If you want to call in, join me at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on my channel. Thank you. Really quick, I want to review a video from a few years ago, 7 years ago, J.D. Vance on Trump's relationship with rural America.
We sat down recently with J.D. Vance, author of Hillbilly, Elegy. Now, Vance's book has been credited with identifying the so-called forgotten Americans who helped carry Donald Trump to his unexpected victory. A year into the Trump administration, Vance warns those voters might well be disappointed if the president's rhetoric doesn't match reality.
I started writing the book back in 2013, and of course, no one at that time, certainly not me, knew what we were going to see with the nomination and then, of course, the election of Donald Trump. So definitely thought that when the book was coming out, and this is June of 2016, hard to believe it's been that long, I thought that a lot of folks would be trying to ask questions about who the Trump voter was. And of course, that's a...
He is so evil, bro. He does anything for power. Anything for power. He jumped in politics. He thought this was going to be the lane. He thought Trump was going to crash and burn. He thought Trump was going to lose, and therefore he went against Trump, called Trump Hitler. But once Trump won, he changed his entire political career, and he went on Ozempic and got the beard and made sure he was more camera ready. Once that lane did not pan out. It's crazy when you see someone this power hungry and people think it's genuine.
A little bit about what my book is about. I don't mention Donald Trump, but I certainly talk a lot about people living in a certain part of the country, people from a certain demographic segment who did overwhelmingly support the president, both in the nominating contest, but also, of course, in the general election.
For that community that you write about in the book and that you grew up in, what do you think those larger truths are that they heard that he spoke to in ways they hadn't heard before?
I think one of the most important larger truths that he spoke to is the importance of jobs in the life of the community. If you think about Republican rhetoric, let's say, during the campaign of Mitt Romney, very focused on the noble entrepreneur, very focused on the job creator, but not so much on the worker. And if you think of the rhetoric of modern Democrats, it's often so focused on government that people don't, I think a lot of folks on the left don't appreciate that people don't want a handout. They don't want government support, and they don't, from the right, want people to talk about the noble entrepreneur. What they want is people to recognize the dignity of working people. And I think that what was genius about the politics of Trump's campaign is that he focused on workers and he focused on jobs. It wasn't about the wealthy entrepreneur with a private jet. It wasn't about a government handout. It was about the folks in the middle.
In the conversation about the...
Now Trump says, by the way, guys, I killed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau because my bank friends and lender friends called me and said it made them upset. So therefore, no more anti-corruption police. Hell yeah. Now Trump is like, screw it. I am going to screw you over and you're going to like it. And guess what? Trump supporters are A-okay with it because they hate trans people and immigrants more than they love themselves and their own communities. And they don't go, I mean, to be fair, they don't go through that much extreme trauma, so they don't have that many material things to care about. We'll see. We'll see if people change their minds as the economy gets worse and things get more expensive, to see if they really care about working class America. I do agree Democrats have a messaging issue, J.D. Vance, but you should be empowering the working class to be, smarter and understand the world more, to thrive in it. Don't be defeatist and just give up on your neighbors. And by the way, Hillbilly Elegy is really degrading for people in Appalachia, West Virginia, Ohio, whatever community you choose. Blaming them for the systemic issues that plague their lives. It's a weird book.
The tax bill, as an example. He doesn't talk about supply-side economics. He doesn't talk about any theory at all.
When the president talks about tax reform, he talks about...
This guy just talks about complete bullshit.
People who will benefit. He talks about American jobs. He talks about the fact that we're going to be taking money that's overseas and bringing it back to the United States so that it will employ American workers. I think that focus, again, on the American working and middle class is to me, the most thoughtful and in some ways the most genius part of Trump's approach to politics.
And I will tell you, having attended more than 75 Trump rallies, there were times when I would laugh to myself when he would say, every dream you've ever dreamed is going to come true and America's going to get back winning again. I thought, oh, come on, even by political standards, this is sort of cotton candy taken to the maximum level. And yet, having read your book, it occurs to me the concept of putting winning or victory central to it. The people who maybe feel like they've either become losers or forgotten, that was much more powerful than I thought or imagined at the time. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, saying you're a winner, saying it's a golden age of America. People care more that they can say they won versus actually winning. People will cheat to win because they can be known as the winner. It's a really cold and dead way to live. And these people are cold and dead, and you never feel really, truly happy inside. But you're going to take that dub. You're going to take that win regardless. It really does reach into the psychology of these people, and you have to think about how you can tap into their personal drive and make your messaging somewhat appealing to those on the fringes that can be moved over. The people who are not complete cult members, the non-cult members, the independents, if there are any.
Yeah, well, I think that sense of loss is really important. The idea that 30 or 40 years ago, things were really going well, and now they've started to disintegrate. Not just our work life, but our family life and a lot of other issues on top of that.
Do you think there is a danger for Trump going forward, the president going forward, and these voters, that his rhetoric and their expectations may never match?
Thank you so much for $10. Every mind you enlighten brings us closer. Thank you. Constitutional democracy. Thank you so much. Thank you for $5 too. Happy B-Day. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. By the way, my stream is like skipping. I don't know why. It keeps saying low bitrate and dropped frames. I'm not sure why my frames are dropping, but I'm sorry if the stream is choppy at all.
I think that that's certainly a concern. It's a political concern for the Trump administration, but it's a concern for Americans.
It's a ground level concern.
Absolutely. It's a concern for a lot of folks who really do expect things to get a whole lot better. One of the things I really worry about is that if you don't see middle class wage growth, if you don't see the economy in certain areas of the country, the middle part of the country, starting to come back in the same way that it's doing, especially well, let's say in California or New York, then people are going to
New
become
donation
politically
from
frustrated,
someone.
But more importantly, they're going to
$10.
have a lot
Happy
of hope
birthday.
stashed, this sense that maybe this is
Thank you so much for the $10. Happy birthday. Thank you so much. New donation from someone. I see your name. Thank you so much. I'm not going to say your name since you said your name is someone on the donation thing, but thank you so much.
the moment. This is the electoral moment
Thank
where a lot
you.
of our fortunes turn around. That's going to disappear, and consequently, folks are going to be pretty upset about it.
And part of your next phase of life is to deal with this.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I'm working on with Steve Case is this Rise of the Rest initiative that I'm pretty passionate about. If you look at where the net job growth comes, it comes from high growth startup companies. And unfortunately, you don't see a lot of high growth startup companies outside of California, New York, and Boston,
bro.
Massachusetts. And so what we're trying to do.
Remember, he's a venture capitalist. Remember, his business has failed and screwed workers over. I know people right now who might lose their jobs because of Trump's tariffs. We actually lose jobs in America because of tariffs. They say we're going to bring more jobs to America, but it's really just a way to tax poor people and to screw over poor and working people. Yeah, I know people they're gonna lose their jobs. Americans are gonna lose their jobs and also get their taxes increased by Trump.
Do is in some ways democratize access to capital, invest in areas that don't get as much entrepreneurial investing, and hopefully start to create some of those new 21st
Is the stream ever choppy for you guys?
century jobs in places
I think it's
that don't
decent.
see that job creation.
And in my travels, I've seen a little bit of that in Des Moines,
Sure.
Iowa. I've seen a little bit of that in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yep.
It's not as if it doesn't exist in
Exactly.
quote-unquote flyover country, but you want to accelerate.
Yeah, exactly. It certainly exists. There are certainly really exciting pockets of entrepreneurship all across the
Usually
country.
linked to a university of some kind.
Exactly. Universities provide high quality talent. They provide intellectual property necessary for.
Now JD Vance said that professors are the enemy. Ooh. Professors are the enemy, bro. Scientists are the enemy. Medical professionals are the enemy. It's because JD Vance went from like a neocon, populist, venture capitalist, who wants to nicely screw over working people, to a fascist. That's why JD Vance says professors are the enemy now. He knows colleges provide upward mobility, but JD Vance wants poor people to stay poor. He wants there to be like a servant class. It's a big club. You're not in it.
Folks to get their businesses off the ground, but you still don't see nearly as much investment in these areas, even though you see pockets of hope, right? So the statistic I throw out is 50% of venture capital goes to California. Most of the rest of it goes to New York and Massachusetts. That means there's 47 states fighting over a very small amount of the type of investment.
So what, mandatory venture capital? You realize they burn through people and kill them. Like Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security keeps rural areas alive. That's the only way rural areas survive is through those like government programs which act as subsidies for the local economies. But remember, they want to increase venture capitalism and decrease Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They want to decrease programs that actually help working class people and increase the ones that hurt working class people. So yeah, they want to keep you poor. They want to keep you dumb. JD Vance has always been like this, but the branding changed. The method has changed.
That creates really high quality, long-term durable jobs. And so if you can
Raistlin said, "Where is JD? What did he do with him?" This is JD 7 years ago, before the invention of Ozempic.
rearrange that, if you can create more entrepreneurship and more investment in some of these areas, are you going to fix all the problems I wrote about in Hillbilly Elegy? No, but you will start to create some more high quality job growth.
And then this
What does he mean by that? Because you could cut every regulation in the world, But like a random poor community in Alabama is not going to become Silicon Valley, you know, when 70% of the residents rely on Medicaid and Medicare, and the people that get paid to be nurses and doctors also get paid from those programs. Like, are you gonna have mandatory venture capitalism? I just don't see how that would help. Like, if you killed these programs, I don't see how they are they gonna force people to invest in certain areas? Do you need to move to a mini Silicon Valley to survive in these societies?
That's what brings us back to some of the embedded behavioral problems you write about in Hillbilly Elegy, and those are going to have to change even if this capital arrives.
Yes, the behavioral problems. And here is the wrap up, guys. Okay, it's really the behavioral problems of the working class people in the rural areas that's a problem. It's the behavioral issues. It's their fault for not working hard enough. And Vivek said this, remember? Vivek said this. And he got kicked out of Doge because he said the truth out loud. When he said the comments about American culture being against hard work now. They don't work hard enough. These poor whites don't work hard. Yeah, JD Vance said that, basically. The poor whites don't work hard. He still will say that, but it's a propaganda technique like it is for when they say it about other groups, for you to not like that group and for you to, yeah. Woohoo! We had the full Vance cycle. I love this interview.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
You speak quite candidly
Sure.
about laziness and people who think they work but don't actually work, and that they're part of this equation, and that reckoning is.
Yes, JD Vance knows about hard work. The venture capitalist. The venture capitalist, bro.
Going to have to occur, number one, and won't be easy to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you go to a town like Middletown, Ohio, where some people are struggling to find a job, but then there are people who had a good job and lost it, not because the economy was bad, but because they made mistakes. You see both types of people, and I think we have to recognize that there are these twin impulses that exist. There is a need for more economic growth, for more job growth, but there is a need in some people for them to recognize that they have a role in making these problems better, and we can't ignore that. The issue that's really, really concerning is that you have 8 million prime-age men who have dropped out of the labor force, folks who aren't even looking for work. You can create job growth all day, but unless you start to do the things that bring those labor force dropouts back into the job market, you're not going to solve the problems I wrote about in the book.
JD, thanks.
And they want to kill unions. Hard work to them and efficiency means making people do shitty jobs, basically. And if you don't do shitty jobs, you're a bad person. They want to moralize it as well. Make it all moral. I don't know, bro. I wish they would really say what they mean.